How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time...
Where did you find this one at?
It was Harvey Comics. I was wanting to do some characters from Harvey, and I discovered this.
Another of your randomly discovered heroes?
Kind of, sort of. I don't know, maybe somebody can do a revival of this and we can have the Sphinx teaming up with the Scarab.
Don't even joke about that.
Anyways.
Tell them what you have up and coming.
The up and coming stuff I usually do for the outro.
Do it right now anyways.
Fine. There's one more week in the month of April. Well, at least one more Monday. So we're going to go ahead and do one more character. And into that... the next couple of months have a plan. We're going to be doing the last time that I'll be doing Ace Month. There are a lot more characters left to cover in a month, but there's only a certain number of superheroes left. So we're going to cover those in the month of May. Then we'll do Timely Month, which is Marvel, DC, and then maybe an MLJ month. So those are what's scheduled in the pipeline. And as always, if you have requests, I'd love to do those, and we can plan those after the couple of months of stuff that I have coming up. Now, what we're doing today is something called the Phantom Sphinx. This is a really unusual one. A Egyptian general was put in a hypnotic sleep for 6,000 years, and when he revived, we find out that he has magic and that he can use that to fight for the benefit of mankind. It's kind of a weird thing, but unlike other mystical people who fight, they have magic and they fight like grounded enemies or gangsters or something, he's actually doing a lot of mystical fighting mystical. So one mystical fighting supernatural. So that was a little bit different. He didn't have to fight any street level thugs. Kind of in the second story, but it was more interesting seeing magic fight magic. But it also takes away the conflict, because with magic you can do anything. There are no limits. You don't have to worry about restrictions. You can do whatever you want with magic. Sometimes makes it a little uncompelling. But this is the Phantom Sphinx. This is interesting. It's not too many issues, and it's something that came out of Harvey Comics. So I did find it at least interesting enough to review. So we got some months of stuff coming up, and let's get into this review of the Phantom Sphinx. The Phantom Sphinx. The Phantom Sphinx. Amron first appeared in Pocket Comics #1 in 1941. The publisher is Harvey, and the creator is Louis. I'm not going to butcher this last name. Cazeneuve. Now, the Phantom Sphinx only has 4 appearances, and I would actually love to get an issue of the Pocket Comics. Each one of these issues is 100 pages long, and I didn't think any comic book in the Golden Age went that large, which is why I would just love to see and hold a copy just to see how thick it is. I mean, with 100 pages, this thing's got to be as thick as a graphic novel. A standard graphic novel. Anyways, the Phantom Sphinx, he apparently is an ancient Egyptian general that was put into a hypnotic trance for 6,000 years for that when he is awakened, he can use the mystical powers that he knows to fight for the good of mankind. He possesses a number of abilities. He turns a person into a camel, controls sandstorms, he can fly, and also make a magic carpet appear, which doesn't seem to make much of a point because he can actually fly. Teleporting, make a ghost apparition of himself, can species transformation as they list here. There's just there doesn't really seem to be a limit of his powers. He knows magic, which means he can do anything, basically. I think by the end, he has an infatuation with the reporter. Not at first, but I think by the end he does, because he doesn't let anybody touch him, but he is actually holding hands with her in his last appearance. Now, Pocket Comics only went on for 4 issues, and I do believe they were meaning to go on for more, because every one of the stories references something that's going to be happening in the next issue. Now, there didn't seem to be any kind of limit to his power, except in the 4th issue. It happened only once, it seems. Now, apparently they were fighting in the daytime, and the sun passes over the Star of Egypt, and his power starts to fade, but as soon as the sun moves out of the way of the Star of Egypt, he's reinvigorated and his powers starts to work all over again. Now we're going to cover the 1st issue so you can see what's going on with that. In the 2nd issue, he fights someone who goes by the name of Viper and seems to be getting his powers from a demonic totem. And the Phantom Sphinx finishes off Viper and his men by basically taking a page out of the Bible. He splits the river so everybody can pass through, and as soon as the bad guys pass through again, he covers them with the waters, which makes sense because that's exactly what Moses did to the Pharaoh who was trying to pursue him and his people. When they were crossing the desert, he split the sea, they went through, and as soon as the Pharaoh and his men came, they put the sea back and killed all the Pharaoh and his men, which, I mean, Amron is actually a Hebrew name, which is kind of weird because I don't think that a Hebrew would be the general of the Egyptian army. But his name is a Hebrew name. I was looking it up so I could do a proper pronunciation, and it came up as Hebrew, which kind of makes sense for taking a page out of the Passover story. In the 3rd issue, he fights... It looks like they were calling it a jinn, because it's spelled Geinn. But I looked up a pronunciation, and they were calling it a Janai. And it's basically, we're going to go with a Janai. It's the Janai of death, who looks like the devil, basically. And the Pharaoh fights and defeats him. And in his 4th appearance, he fights the god Kali from Egypt. Or not from Egypt, from Indian folklore. And by the end, he actually does destroy the god of destruction. He was going on a rampage trying to kill everybody because, in their final battle with one last gesture, with the last gesture, Amron causes Kali to wither into a skeleton. And then he returns to his temple without Nancy, which, that seemed to be part of his motivation, because apparently Kali fancied her and wanted to make her his woman, and Amron saves him and then goes back and defeats Kali. He gets instructions for what he wants to do by his father's voice in the sky. And I wasn't completely sure if anybody else could hear it besides him. There's some indication in the 4th issue that somebody else can. And like I said, at the end of the last issue, it looked like there were going to be more. But a new menace meets Amron in the next month's Pocket Comics. So I believe that they intended to go on longer, but with Magic, Magic in the Golden Age didn't seem to have any limits. You could pretty much do anything and everything. I don't cover magicians very often because they're not very compelling because there's really no weaknesses to them. I mean, I could cover more magicians, but I mean, more of the famous ones like that come out of DC or maybe Mandrake the Magician. But with Magic, it just, if they could set up some sort of limits, it would be a little more compelling. But with Magic, you can pretty much do and say anything. There are no limits. Okay, so let's go ahead and cover the first issue so you can kind of get an idea of what they were mainly going to be going with at first before it got into what it turned into, because I don't think that this was the original path, but this is what we got. The Phantom Sphinx. Revived from a 6,000-year hypnotic sleep as a mummy, the great Amron uses his magic of ancient Egypt for the good of all mankind. The scientist, Dr. Sally, finds a long-lost tomb. At last, after all these years of searching, I have found it. Now, I'm assuming it's at night because you can see right here he's using the flashlight, and we'll see him using the lamp in a minute. It's the entrance to the tomb. According to the markings, this is General Amron. Of course, he could be underground, and that's why he's using the flashlight. I mean, you can see this panel over here. It looks like it's the middle of the day. The inconsistencies are a little annoying. The scientist discovers a crypt-covered vase near the coffin. Looks like it might be an important message. So, I cannot read the box of this next one. It looked like somebody marked it out with markers. Okay, so he's reading this letter with the vase. Wait, what? Okay, maybe it's papyrus, because there's no way paper's going to last for 6,000 years. Can papyrus last 6,000 years? Anyways. Great Scott. Amron's father put him in a hypnotic sleep 6,000 years ago. These are instructions to revive him. Now, we get to the villain of this issue. His name is Red Norton. You guys didn't put a whole lot of creativity into that. Remember, men, we will kill and loot without mercy. So they start storming the camp and killing all of the explorers. That seemed wildly unnecessary. Another one that's hard to read. The Marauders enter Dr. Sally's tent, but pay dearly for it. He shoots someone that goes right into his tent. Bang, bang. But then he gets stabbed from behind. And no, I don't think it kills him. And after he gets stabbed, while looting, Red Norton finds Dr. Sally's translation of the message. Magic. Seems easy enough. I love how casually you just said that. Okay, so he follows the instructions on the paper, and it looks like a pebble from the Nile and the star Sirius works together to bring forth, bringing him back. See, that's why I was wondering if it's at night, because he needed the star and this pebble to work together to bring him back. And the stars come out at night. But when the bandits were attacking, it looked like it was the middle of the day. There were clouds out and everything. Okay. So we see it says that they see that the mummy starts to move. Slowly, Amon's eyes opens, throwing the Sanusi into a panic. And yes, I did look it up. It is the Sanusi. Gulp! He's coming to life! And then suddenly he stands before him, and I don't understand it. This was the first two issues. He didn't want anybody to touch him. I don't understand why. No, do not touch me. But Red Norton touches Amon, and what? He's gone! All that work for nothing. And he appears on top of the giant Sphinx. And then there is a billowing voice from the sky. Now, it's unsure whether or not others can hear it or if it's just for him specifically. But his father starts talking to him from beyond the grave. As he starts talking, it says, the time has come when you must be, or the time has come when you must be of service to mankind by using your ancient knowledge of magic against all evil hereafter, thou shalt be known and feared as the Sphinx. Could use something like that today. Now go to the camp of Red Norton and rescue the American reporter Nancy Taylor. Now, we have 4 issues. She is in 3 of them. The first one, not the second story, but she is in the last 2. So he goes down to the tent where she's being held captive, and there is one bad guy guarding her, and he turns him into a camel. That would be horrible. And then I guess he sees a sandstorm in the distance and he calls for it to assist him. So the tornado starts sweeping up all the bad guys, but for some reason the tent surrounding Nancy seems to be untouched. Well, no, she says it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. This guy's got magic. Which... magic is way too easy and convenient. I mean, you can pretty much do anything and everything. He just turned the guy into a camel and commanded a snowstorm or sandstorm to help him. It just... when you can do things like that, there's no struggle for you. Alright. The storm subsides and he tells Nancy to not be frightened and to come with him. She doesn't... she's surprised that he knows her and she doesn't know him. And I guess she's thirsty because he makes an oasis appear. A sparkling oasis appears in the hot desert. And this is the coldest water I've ever tasted. Until the water boy. Anyways, this is my favorite Brook of Pharaohs. You had to make it appear. I'm not even going to go into that. Okay, so she gets some water, and then suddenly the sand that they are standing on transforms into an invisible carpet, and we must hurry to Dr. Sally. This is faster than a plane. I sure hope not. There was a sandstorm that was just in the air. If you guys are moving that fast, the sand's going to tear you apart. Of course, it's magic, which means you can do anything. Okay, so they appear by Dr. Sally's side, and he tells her to stay with him. Now, this is where it seems like it's night again, because it says, tired, thirsty, and blinded by the storm, Red Norton stumbles all night along the sand dunes. Water! I must have water! But they were talking about how, I mean, it looked like it was day, but now it's actually night. The Sphinx appears as a gigantic phantom, so he can also grow in size, along with commanding snowstorms and changing things. And he makes a city appear in the distance. Let's see. Suddenly, the Sphinx raises his hand, the magical city looms on the horizon. So they say it's black magic, but they realize that it is actually a real city and not a mirage. So all the bandits run close to it. Red Norton and the Sanusi bandits enter the city, and behold, a gurgling fountain. Gurgling. Okay. Allah be praised. Water, water. They go for the water, and it vanishes. And then he sees a fruit vendor, who also vanishes. They say it's witchcraft. Suddenly, the city disappears, leaving Norton and his cutthroats in utter confusion as the hot sun rises for another day. I mean, this seemed like a giant non sequitur. You lead them to a city where everything in it disappears, and then the city disappears. If everything was just going to vanish, what was the point of bringing it up in the first place? This was a nightmare. I must be dreaming. This is the end. Allah is punishing us. I have no comment on that. Okay, so the Sphinx appears before them and tells them, you're being punished. You've murdered and robbed your fellow men. You spent all your lives in destruction. You lived by the sword, and you shall die by the sword. That is a good law. This is the law of the desert. It's more than just the law of the desert. And then he shows them these beautiful women. With a simple gesture, the Sphinx shows them the better and more peaceful life they could have enjoyed. Yeah, that actually looks like a lot of fun. Where can I find that? The men start running towards the women. The land of milk and honey. Yeah, pretty much. But then the wall of flames comes up, and he's not letting them have any of that. Blinded by sand, blood, and sweat, the thieves writhe in pain as they think they're being consumed by the flames. And the flames are actually just another mirage. They don't get burned by the flames. Baffled and thwarted, the angry natives turn on Norton, and Norton and the bandits start to scuffle with each other. A terrific battle ensues, which the divided Norton camp is locked in a death grip. Natives slaughter each other, and Red Norton is brought down and savagely slain. So they don't show how many of the camp is left over, but it shows that they're pretty much all killing each other now, blaming the others for what they can't have. And I'll go ahead and read these last 3 panels right here. Knowing that the fate of Norton and his murdering cutthroats was sealed, the Sphinx returned to Dr. Sally's camp. I've notified the British Council, and an ambulance is on his way. You've been asleep for 6,000 years. How do you even know what an ambulance is? You've done so much. How can we ever thank you? No, don't touch me. I don't understand that. You're holding hands in the last issue. Oh, he's gone, but I have the strangest feeling, as I just been kissed. Wonder if I shall see him again. I don't even know how to. That doesn't make any sense. You didn't even touch him. How do you feel like you've been kissed? How long can the Sphinx retain his magical powers? What new effect did his 6,000 years hypnotic sleep produce? See next issue. Why would you print that sentence? His mystical powers don't wane or fall off or anything. I mean, in the next issue, he pulls off a Noah routine. I talked about it in the opener. I mean, there's no diminishing in his power. That sentence is almost another non sequitur. I hope you like this one. I always enjoy doing obscure superheroes. If you have a request that you'd like to see of the timely characters and DC characters, I mean, Ace Month, I've already got those set up. If you'd like to see something for timely in DC, I'm open to put those up. I haven't exactly written everybody down that I'm doing for that month yet. And same with MLJ if I do decide to do that. So, I hope you like this one. I hope you like what we're going to be having coming up in the next couple of months. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.